3 20 squared is equal to 16. What I'm going to do at this stage is I'm just going to square, since it's squared, I'm just going to square root the left side and square root the right side. When I take the square root of the squared, it becomes x plus 3. And the square root of 16 is 4. The only little caveat, little trick that you have to do is you have to put the plus or minus here. If you don't put the plus or minus, you're going to get not many roots. Let me trim this off first quickly. So x plus 3 equals plus or minus 4. It's a little tricky. Make sure you get the plus or minus when you square root both sides. What did I just say? Put the plus or minus when you square root both sides. So x plus 3 equals 4, or plus or minus x plus 3 equals negative 4. Solving for x, subtract 3, x equals 1, or subtract 3, x equals negative 7. A lot easier. Look at your equation. X plus 3 squared is equal to 16. Notice to solve for x, all you have to do is square root it. So let's see if you got the same answer. There it is. 1, negative 7, 1, negative 7. So this is the preferred method, but they wanted you to solve by factoring. You have to distribute the x plus 3 times x plus 3 out first. Okay. Example number 4. I don't know if you can read it. 2x squared minus 13x plus 6 equals 0. I'm going to use the same technique again. Step 1 equals 0. Step 2, the 2x squared. The 2 is going to kill you. It's going to be a 2x and an x here. 2x times x is 2x squared. This plus sign, step 3, this plus sign tells you they're both going to be positive or negative. This tells you they're both going to be negative. So if this is plus, it's a lot easier, okay? Minus and a minus because of this minus sign. This tells you they're both same sign. They are both same sign. Step 4, the factors of 6. 1 times 6, 2 times 3. So where goes where? If I put 3 here, that's minus 6x. Not quite. It's not going to quite make negative 13x. So I probably have to put a 6 here and a 1 here. It takes a little bit of practice, persistence, but I'd rather have you learn to factor properly instead of using the diamond. Some people use the box method too, as well, you know, just diamond method, blah, 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 blah. So we zip it out, set each factor equal to 0. Oh, I'm sorry, we forgot to check our oil and our foil. That's 2x squared, right over here. Minus 12x. 2x times negative 6 is minus 12x. Minus 1x is minus 13x. L minus 1 times negative 6 is positive 6. Okay, so we checked our oil and our foil. Now let's zip it out. Zero product property. 2x minus 1 equals 0. Or x minus 6 equals 0. Move the 1 over. Adding it, divided by 2. X equals 1/2. Or x equals 6. Pretty simple, right, guys? Okay, let's do the example number 8, 9, and 10. Example 8 says find all real solutions to the following equation by completing the square. They want you to use the second method instead of factoring. They want you to complete the square. First thing you have to do is, this is in general form or standard form, x squared plus 6x minus 11 equals 0. We have to move the constant over to the right side. That's the first thing we do in completing the square. So it becomes x squared plus 6x plus something, we have to complete the square, equals, since we added 11 to both sides, the constant, we have to add the same amount on the right side as well as the left side. So let's complete the square. You take the 6, the middle term, or the linear term, divided by 2, and square it. 6 divided by 2 is 3, square it is plus 9. we add 9 to the right side. You notice I put plus something. Very important. Plus something. A lot of students forget to put the plus something on the right side. That's a common mistake. So I always, for good practice, I always have my students write plus something on the right side. Let's factor this out. You end up with x, drop the plus, half of 6. It's always half of this coefficient of the linear term is 3. Squared is equal to 11 plus 9 is 20. What's the next step we do? We square root both sides, the left side and the right side. That's how you complete the square, and you take the square root. The square and the square root, they cancel. On the left side we have x plus 3 is equal to, on the right side we have plus or minus square root of 20. I want to write this really neatly as in simplifying this radical. Square root of 20 is, I got to find the perfect square that's a factor of 20. A factor of 20 is going to be 4 times 5. So that's going to be a nice factor because that's a squared number. So square root of 4 times the square root of 5, we know that that turns out to be 2 radical 5. Okay. So x plus 3 is equal to plus or minus 2 radical 5. And how do I solve for x? Subtract 3 to both sides. X equals negative 3 plus 2 radical 5, or x equals negative 3 minus 2 radical 5. Some teachers, they want you to just write in one single form, x equals negative 3 plus or minus 2 radical 5. Okay, so there it is right there. The first form is the same as the second form, negative 3 plus root 5, or the minus is or, negative 3 minus 2 square root of 5. Okay? Example number 9 says find all real solutions to the following equation by completing the square again. So you have 2x squared plus 28x equals negative 6. That 2, that leading coefficient 2, the linear coefficient 2, and is a multiple of 2. This negative 6 is a multiple of 2. We're just going to divide it by 2. To the left side, to the right side. That way you get a real nice number. So if it's even, you can always divide by 2. You end up with x squared plus 14x. I'm going to complete the square on the left side. That's 14x is equal to negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3 plus something. Always have that good habit of writing down plus something because you're going to complete the square. They want you to complete the square. 14 divided by 2 is 7. Square that, 49. I'm going to add 49 to the left side. I'm going to add 49 to the right side of the equation. We know that this factors to just take x instead of squaring it becomes x plus half of 14 is 7. Squared is equal to 49 minus 3 is going to be 46. And then 46, can you factor out a 4? You cannot. Can you factor out 25? You cannot. Can you factor out 16? You cannot. So this is irreducible. Take the square root of left side, right side. Cancels. Don't forget the square root of the square cancels. You end up with x plus 7 is equal to plus or minus, don't forget your plus or minus, radical 47. Now how do you solve for this x? Subtract 7 to both sides. That gets rid of that. X equals negative 7 plus or minus radical, that was a 46, excuse me, square root of 46. There's your final answer. Okay. Don't forget the 2, if it's all numbers are even in these terms, you can just divide it by 2. It'll reduce it to a real nice equation to work with. Okay. Find all solutions to the following equation by completing the square. That's going to be a little bit more difficult. So on example number 10, I'm going to put a little asterisk there. Let's redo this again. So you have negative 3x squared minus 9x is equal to 5. I really don't like this negative, so I'm going to run a negative through. I like this to be nice and positive number, multiplied by negative, divided by negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, end up with 3x squared plus 9x is equal to negative 5. I don't know if you can see that yet. You can see that. And now I'm going to go complete the square on the left side. Before I do that, this 3 is still killing me, so I'm going to factor it out. We learned to complete the square last time. If there's a leading coefficient greater than 1, then we're going to have to factor it out. X squared plus, if I factor out 3 here, it becomes 9 over 3, which is 3x. If I distribute that out, it becomes 9x. Plus something is equal to negative 5. Since we added on the left side, we have to add on the right side. Plus 3 times something. Remember, it's 3 times that number, so we have to add 3 times that number, whatever this number was that we have to do. It's going to be a little bit messy because of fractions. Take this number, 3 divided by 2. Always take the linear coefficient, divide by 2, square it. 3 over 2 times 3 over 2 is 9 over 4. So it's 9 over 4. I'm going to, at this stage, well, I could have done it that way, I guess, but factor this term. 3 parentheses x plus, there's an x, square root of that is x, bring down the plus, half of 3 is 3 halves squared is equal to negative 5 times 3 plus 9 over 4. I'm going to do this on the right side a little bit. So 3 times 9 is 27 over 4 minus 5 times 4 is 20 over 4. So minus 5 becomes negative 20 over 4. Common denominator is going to be 7 over 4. So it's going to be equals 7 over 4. We have to get rid of this 3 first before we can take the square root. How do we get rid of that 3? Divide it by 3, or we multiply by 1/3. Since it's a fraction, instead of dividing by 3, I like to multiply by the reciprocal of the left side and the right side. That gets rid of that term right there. So you end up with x plus 3 over 2, quantity squared is equal to, multiply that out, you get 7 over 12. Now we take the square root of the left side and the right side. On the left side, I get x plus 3 over 2 is equal to plus or minus square root of 7 over square root of 12. I made this so that it looks similar. Square root of 7 over square root of 12 is the same thing as square root of 7 over 12. I did not break any rules of math. Okay? Square root of a over b is square root of a over the square root of b.